Welcome back. Michael Jordaan is arguably one of the best and most innovative chief executives that South Africa has seen in the last decade, and many people will be sad to see him go. Now, his turnaround of the F&B business will be talked about for years to come, and there's many important lessons we can learn from his specific management style. So we've got Tandisizwe Mahlutshana still with me in studio, Martin Hopkins Leader for Reward Consulting Team at PwC, joining the conversation, and so too is Kevin Wellman, MD for Fleischmann Hillard, South Africa. Thanks both so much for joining us. Kevin, I'll start off with you. Michael Jordaan, what made his style stand out specifically when it comes to management and how he was able to turn around the F&B business?
I think his style is I think there's several factors in what really led to his success. I think from the get-go, he became CEO about 10 years ago, as we all know, in the early 2000s, 2003, 2004. And he came out of a brand, out of the First Rand Group, which is incredible, entrepreneurial. And we know about the founders, we know the whole F&B story, and he stood for all of those things. He didn't adapt his style to the bank. He is the bank. He just did what came naturally. He's a fantastic communicator, interpersonal communicator. He communicates to groups very, very well, and he takes people on a journey. What I found interesting, I worked quite closely with him from about 2002 through to about 2009. Mm-hmm. What I found very, very interesting is he knew exactly what he wanted to do as he became CEO at F&B. He wanted the bank to stand for innovation, and he wanted to set the bank apart in the world of customer centricity. Everything he did in the next 10 years came back to those two factors. Whether it was a press interview, whether it was a newsletter to staff, whether it was a conversation at the water cooler with a cleaner. Mm-hmm. He would talk about those two things, but he'll bring them to life with facts, with figures, with actions. He is a very, very much a doing CEO, mm-hmm. and then a talking CEO thereafter. And I believe that firmly set him apart.
You wonder when he had time to sleep. And I suppose you'd have to answer this because he was on Twitter, he was running a very successful bank that continued to grow. And I mean, just how do you, as a successful CEO, do both? You know what I mean? I
think any great leader, be it a politician, be it a mm-hmm. corporate leader, be it a sportsman, you will always wonder where they find time to sleep. He's full of action. He was accessible. You could get him. You could speak to him. Like any great leader, he made you feel important when you spoke to him. And I think that's a key to great communication success. He's on Twitter, and people find this astounding. But if you're on Twitter yourself and you work on Twitter, it doesn't take a tremendous amount of time once you understand it. Once you've built your audience, once you engage with them, mm-hmm. and once you're real, you don't have to put on a face. Mm-hmm. Having worked with him, I know that the persona that he plays out on Twitter is him. Mm-hmm. He runs his own account. He doesn't script his own messages. He just tweets when he thinks something or when he does something. Mm-hmm. And that's why it sets apart. I mean, for a corporate CEO of a bank, he's got 30,000 followers. That's unheard of in this country. And I think he's really just revolutionized communication at that level.
I remember when he started as CEO, obviously that whole thing of engaging with customers was a little taboo thing for a bank executive, and he obviously told his bosses, look, this is how I'm going to play my game. But the whole thing of Twitter, there's a very interesting story. I think it was a Sunday afternoon where one lady went to shop at a shopping mall. And when she needed to pay for parking, I think she needed about $20 and she didn't have cash. So when she went to withdraw money, her bank said, no, we can't give you the money because you need to update your figure status. And when she phoned the bank to say, listen, just give me $20, I'll sort out my figure status on Monday, they said, no, ma'am, we can't help you. And she went on Twitter, obviously, in a rage, angry. And Michael Jordaan tweeted her back, or inboxed a tweet inbox, and said, look, I'm Michael Jordaan, CEO of F&B. What do you need? How can I help you? And she said, look, I'm stuck. My bank won't help me. And said, you know what? I will phone my bank manager, who obviously manages the branch in this shopping center, mm-hmm. and he will meet you there. Go up the escalators. You will see him in a blue suit, and he'll give you $20. And that's exactly what happened. Mm-hmm. And there's no telling what happened on Monday morning when she went to update her figure status. Surely she left out.
Go directly to the CEO, and of course it was a successful approach there. Martin, when it comes to incentivization, that was also a specific kind of thrust and strategy that Michael took at F&B and incentivizing his employees. How can that specific program be extended to other companies?
Look, incentive remuneration is something we focus on a lot, and I think there's some critical issues there. First of all, the drivers of incentivization. You need to, in any business, be incentivizing the right behavior. So the skill of any program is picking the right business drivers to reward and incentivize. And secondly, the quantum, particularly in banking, is a big discussion. I think it needs to be reasonable and not too excessive. I think that's the message we're getting from the European Union you'll notice that there's something called CRD4 in European banking, which is a cap on bonuses to bankers, which is saying bonuses and incentivization is fine and appropriate, but it needs to be reasonably balanced to the base pay. The other thing that we're getting a lot is that incentivization isn't just about the money. We're an enormously materialistic society, but it's also about recognition. And I think some of the points that you made, Kevin, that people being accessible, giving you the time of day, making you feel important. Many people will stay at a job because they feel they're developing and growing and getting the time of day from their leadership. And that's why they stay, not just because there's monetary incentives.
I think that's an important thing. I mean, we had the guys from FNB's innovation team come and speak at one of the Media 24 conferences, and I was astounded. I mean, they gave out bonuses, I think it was 7 million rand to staff that came up with big ideas, irrespective of whether they made money, but they were able to change the way, I mean, the petrol cards. And that seemed to be one of the interesting things that struck me about the FNB culture, is that they'd want to reward their staff. I think that they used to, correct, and there used to be this idea that we reward the top echelon and don't worry, and the middle are kind of the soldiers that keep it ticking along, but that seems to have been turned around a little bit within a company like FNB.
Can I also mention programs like recognition programs, which can be informal and formal, and we're finding that recognition programs where there's money, incentives, rewards, but also visibility that you get, a big gala event where your success is celebrated. I mean, an interesting one at Vodacom a year or two back, a guy that got up in the middle of the night in Vodacom Lesotho and climbed up a mast in a blizzard and reset something. Very junior guy in the operations, but he was celebrated at a huge gala event. And I think that's important. The foot soldiers of the company is where the rubber hits the road.
But I mean, you're interesting. You're talking about, capping on bankers' remuneration and incentives there, but they didn't really hold back when it comes to incentivization of becoming innovative thinkers, and customer-centric essentially was this specific incentivization plan, because finding a solution that will make the bank operate, more specifically for the customer. What do you think about how to extend this really to other companies? Can it be?
I think getting back to the core of, if I can use FNB as an example first, getting back to the core of what Michael wanted to achieve when he took over as CEO, getting back to the messaging of innovation and customer centricity. The rewards program you talk about was something he launched almost immediately, and I remember it being sort of a R1 million being paid to the team that came up with the most innovative program in line with customer centricity. It had to make a difference to the customer. And it could be at absolutely any level, and you speak 100% correctly. It went directly into their team, and they could do with the money what they chose. They could divide it amongst the members. It could be 2 people. It could be a team of 50 people. But when it works, is when everyone is singing off the same song sheet. He moved into the role, he talked innovation, he talked customer centricity. He got all his senior managers dropped down to the next level, talking about those 2 things. And then he brought it to life with programs like the Innovation Campaign, entering in International Innovation Awards, doing everything around those 2 things so it became the culture. You can't affect change before it is the culture. So he made it the culture, and it was just driven through in everything they do. And I think if you look at the 4 major retail banks over the last 10 years, and you made a list of innovations coming out of all of them, 60-70% will be sitting on FNB's books.
Well, we've got to wrap up. But just one last comment from you. Anything else that stands out from Michael?
I think the important thing is when to call it quits and when to move on to your next challenge in life. And I think that's a very interesting aspect of CEOs. How long do you rule for, and when do you move on to your next challenge?